ClancyPasta presents My Sister Wears a Pillowcase, written by Mr. Michael Squid. My older sister Carly left for summer camp on July 15th. I said something along the lines of good riddance when she stuck her tongue at me after delivering one of her go-to insults. But it was all in good fun, and I was finally free. Despite being able to sprawl out on the couch and hog the remote, the days began to grow long and dull without Carly there to antagonize me. By the time the month of freedom crawled towards an end, I kind of missed her presence in a masochistic way. My ears perked up when my mother informed me she was off to pick up Carly from summer camp. I perched on the sofa and watched out the window as Mom drove off, and time slowed. I was eager to hear all about the camp, and I waited with my nose pressed against the pane for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, I saw Mom's station wagon appear between the pines. The car slowed to a halt on the grumbling gravel, and my mother exited the vehicle. She then circled back and opened the back door for my sister, and I cocked my head in confusion when she emerged from the back seat. Carly was wearing a light lavender pillowcase over her head, concealing it completely. I watched, dumbstruck, wondering if it was some kind of planned joke or makeover reveal setup. But my mother was not smiling as she assisted my sister slowly out of the vehicle. I wondered if another girl was beneath that hood, but I recognized Carly by the way she walked. My mother then aided my blindfolded sister down the pathway to our front door. Upon entering, a gust of hot air swept in as the two walked slowly into the living room. "Carly?" I asked my hooded sister as she shuffled in, but she didn't respond. Her small fingers twitched as if she'd meant to speak, but she only continued trudging along the carpet. My mother slowly guided Carly towards the staircase, supporting her every step with an extended elbow. Once they passed by and their backs were to me, I could see a faded brown stain on the pillowcase my sister wore. I shivered at the sight of it, but was too stunned to speak. I stayed downstairs, staring wide-eyed at the dim stairway leading up to our bedrooms, until my mother descended alone. She didn't say a word as she headed into the kitchen and began chopping vegetables for dinner. I remained on the couch, my eyes fixed on the shadowy staircase. I listened to a faint rhythmic sound coming from the darkness upstairs. It was Carly's wet breathing, raspy and bubbling, and it turned my stomach. The clatter of metal pans and sizzling oils brought onion and garlic smells from the kitchen, but any appetite I might have had vanished once those stairs creaked, signaling Carly's presence. I looked up at her darkened figure at the top of the staircase, looming above. She was slow and shaky, gripping the banister so hard I thought it might splinter during her descent. When she walked closer and passed by to enter the dining room, she dragged a faint stink through the air with her. It was the smell of spoiled meat. I remained motionless until Mom commanded I join them at the dining room table. I approached the table with a racing heart, and I sat down as thick silence filled the air. I picked at the vegetables on my plate, unable to stop staring at the disquieting scene of my sister with a cloth bag over her head. Every few minutes, my mother would stand up with a fake smile and approach my hooded sister. She would lean over her and feed forkfuls of food under that cloth hood, each time careful to hide any glimpse of Carly's face. When my sister chewed, she created a sound that roiled my guts. "What is wrong with her?" I finally blurted out as hot tears streamed down my face. Carly's thin hands clenched the table's edge till her knuckles whitened, but she didn't respond. My mother shot me a molten glance of fury, her dark eyes and fake smile twitching as she struggled to maintain her composure. Carly, my mom paused to swallow, is under the weather, honey. Eat your meal. The scowl accompanying her statement derailed any further questions I had. I looked back at that stained pillowcase hiding my sister's head. The concealed head twitched, and I shuddered in response. That awful odor crept into my nostrils once again, and I jumped up and ran from the table, knocking back the chair in my wake. I raced up the stairs into my bedroom and slammed the door. With my face pressed into my mattress, I cried till the sheets were soaked. The sun eventually sank, and the room grew dark and cool. I tried not to imagine what horrible things lay beneath that pillowcase. But then my door creaked open just a sliver, just enough to see that pillowcase and the bony white hand on the doorframe. I curled into a ball against the opposite wall, wishing to fall back through it to get away. That deep wheezing magnified as I lay still with bated breath. The door creaked wider open. My eyes adjusted to the cloth which hung loose enough to make out the slope of her forehead in the pale moonlight from my window. The top ridge of her nose jutted out at an angle that didn't look right at all. Then the fabric began to move. Things fluttered beneath the pillowcase where cheeks and eyes should have been. A wet, sticky sound whispered as the fabric came slowly alive, with new ridges and valleys that no head should have. That stench of putrid meat permeated my room, and my heart raced as I watched, terrified. Carly took a step into my room, her wheezing breath thick as tar. She lurched forward in a shaky step, and the peaking horror finally became too much for me to take. My vision clouded back as I lost consciousness. I awoke today to the appetizing smell of eggs and bacon sizzling. I groggily rose, the muddling transition to consciousness causing me to reassess what exactly took place the night before. It all might have been a nightmare, I thought. It had to have been. I had nearly convinced myself of this in order to preserve my threatened sanity. But when I approached the stairway and looked down over the railing, my heart sank. There Carly stood, hooded in that awful pillowcase that looked even filthier than before. Blossoming patterns of gray and ochre blotched the fabric over. Her arms hung by her side, pale and veiny. My mother stood by her side wearing a forced smile as she extended an open palm to the full breakfast on the dining room table. My eyes quickly drifted to the suitcase, now standing near the front door. "Make sure you eat up, honey," my mother spoke in an apathetic voice. The fake smile slid off of her face, and I looked away from her, back to the suitcase by the door as she continued. My suitcase. "Today's your first day of camp." Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to give a huge thanks to all of my supporters over at Patreon and YouTube memberships. Your support makes these narrations possible, and I appreciate it a ton. If you'd like to join these lovely ghouls, you can head on over to my Patreon at patreon.com/ClancyPasta, or click the join button below to become a member. And if you'd like creepy cool shirts, make sure to head on over and check out my official merch store for some awesome tees, hoodies, stickers, and more. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Cheers.